hackathon was meant to encourage developers to build a model that could best deploy Capital Uniswap v3. We're extending it by a week because we have not gotten the submissions that we would have liked. We've gotten a few, which is great, but we want more. And we're wondering if there maybe is some confusion or if there needs to be a little more explanation about what is needed to succeed at this. So we're opening up just lines of communication. If there are any questions, we'll field those. But before that, Nish, do you want to just say anything before we get into the questions?
Yeah, thank you. So basically, what we have talked to a few people as we invited some communities as well. I think it's regarding the challenge of the problem actually for a first timer. Although we're expecting more intermediates to come, but a lot of beginners came. And so what is happening is they're not able to understand the concept of APR that easily in terms of like range provision and rebalancing. I think so. What we are learning from this more of this hackathon is like it's the education regarding the problem itself more, because this problem comes with a lot of prerequisite maybe, and some developers are lacking that. But although we have scheduled a lot of calls this week in case for like this is the AMA one here as well, but we are trying to do some individual community AMAs as well to see if we can help the developers overcome any basic doubts that they should have. But other than that, I think it also proves that it's a little complex, and there is definitely more need of developers into the this ecosystem with such model prediction, because the problem itself is not that easy to be honest. And but we'll still like more people to participate, and we're trying for that this week.
Cool. Maybe before we get into questions, Nish, how did you approach this problem when you were building your model, right? Because SmartPool currently is using the model you built, and maybe by providing some insights into how you did it, we can provide some, I don't know, insight to the other developers here.
I think what helped me usually individually was first I was quite familiar with Uniswap v3 before I actually approached the model itself. So my approach was first understanding like what does this capital efficiency and other things mean, and I was actually following Uniswap v3 since the day it launched actually. So that I think helped. But when I actually gave to our internal team, right, Rahul and Shivam, and I gave that to them, they were actually a little confused as well. So how I approached this once I understood how Uniswap is working was to understand how I can think of some of the terms in a traditional finance way. But because I had a little background there already, so that helped. But I was like, this is capital efficiency. They said lower range, higher range, try to understand liquidity. So for me, it was rather than rushing just to code and then trying to figure out, I actually took the approach to understand Uniswap and its functionality, its price movement more. And then code was much quite easier actually once I understood those parts. And I think that's sometimes where developers lack. They try to rush the code quite quickly and like make a skeleton because we gave sample notebook, right? They tried to learn from that individually rather than trying to even understand what is Uniswap and the text itself. I think that's where it helped me the most to first understand what you're designing for, and then trying for the ideas itself.
All right. Those listening in, are there any questions about the Uniswap v3 hackathon? You can dump them into the community call chat, or if you have a question that is potentially more vocal, you can raise your hand and I'll let you speak. But yeah, we're just waiting for feedback from you guys. So whoever's got something, let us know.
In case nobody has question, then I'll explain the problem a little bit maybe. in case somebody can then build a basic overview of things. Let's wait 2 minutes. If somebody has a question first, then we'll approach. Should I go ahead, Moin? And like, let me explain the problem, I guess, first. Like, although it's written in the article form, I think, but it's much easier if I speak about it as well.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do that? And again, guys,
Yeah.
with any questions, feel free to interrupt us. Drop them in the
Yeah.
community call discussion, raise your hand, whatever you want to do.
Okay, so thank you everyone for joining as well. So basically in Uniswap V3, when we do the competition, it runs on almost as, trying to find out what's a good strategy, simulate that, and try to find out how much your APR would have been. Now, because as you know, slowly we'll be building these models. So although we have built internally, but now we plan, the community should be the one contributing to build such models, and developers should earn that reward. And that's the platform we'll be doing, within the next 6 months. But the good thing about sort of the rolling out such challenges is how you start understanding how much education people need and how we can approach a problem. So Uniswap V3 is actually a complex protocol, I would say. Uniswap V2 was quite simpler for people to understand. You just invest money in a pool pair, and whatever liquidity ratio percentage you invested in, you make fees according to that. Now, Uniswap V3 was very interesting for me as well as from a mathematical perspective because it introduced the concept of capital efficiency. What it basically means is earlier you were investing in V2 the money throughout the pool. So it was just a flat ratio. Now, V3 actually allowed for so many custom choices now. For example, if the price ratio of token 1 to token 2 is 10, it's up to you if you want to invest in 9 to 11 or 8 to 12 as a lower to upper range. You create a band, you create a window almost around some of the things. And the thing is, you only earn fees now if the price is within your specified range. If it moves out, you don't earn fees anymore for any of the swaps. Now, this either gives you the option, you can make a window very wide so that it's almostly within your price, so you don't have to rebalance a lot, or you can keep the window quite narrow and like not many people have invested in that window, and then you make a lot more ratio into that. So now this introduces a lot of dynamics. The other problem is the gas fees. As Momin was just mentioning, the gas fees is crazy. So if you try to rebalance a position, then you have to pay the gas fees again, and then there is a swap fees as well and stuff for the pools itself. So you cannot change your position again and again like in a traditional finance system. Uniswap V3, although it does include capital efficiency, but a lot of hedge funds and other people are trying to actually figure out what is the good possible way to invest. Uh, the other complexity right now, which is we have not even introduced in the competition itself, is multiple orders. Right now, we're just doing a single order, right? Where should I invest my money within this pool from this range to that range? So in our competition, what you have tried to focus as an example, also we have given is a Bollinger Band strategy, which basically works on a moving average and standard deviation. So if the price is fluctuating a lot, increase your width a little bit so you can cover up for a while, and if it's not moving too much, you can actually keep it stable. So what this actually helps to do is adjust the model itself. For stable pools, for example, USDC, USDT, the price doesn't move that much. So for stable pools, the Bollinger Band will adjust itself accordingly. For high volatility pools, they will do that accordingly. I think in the competition, to make it a little more complex, we gave multiple pools, and we're training on different pools, testing your model on different pools, and then we'll be validating on the future data for different pools as well. Although this does increase the difficulty level for Uniswap competition, but what it does is keep our models quite authentic. because we just don't want to create dummy models, and we really want the developers to understand the real world scenarios, and make models that can actually be used slowly over time by the people itself. So you're trusted that that is only something validated only that is coming out. Now, how we approach this problem is we have given a sample notebook as well, and then we also gave a sample output JSON that this is how you have to submit your stuff, and then we'll be taking the code files as a zip submission as well, so that we can replicate the models on future data. So what that allows to do is, like, we're training on one kind of data set and testing on like a similar distribution or volatility, you can say, but a different pool actually. So what this does is actually test your strategy in a good real world scenario. So that's one. But to make little help, we actually, as Mo mentioned, we have given actually the Bollinger Band strategy as a sample itself in the notebook itself. And if you try to run the notebook yourself, you will understand, how the data is being accumulated. Right now, it has two types of data that we have given actually in the competition. One basic one is the price itself, and usually when you design models, you will this will be the only data that you usually have. But for some cross-referencing, we do have given swap and liquidity data. Now, why swap and liquidity data? Because this is the only thing that moves the price in Uniswap, because it's a decentralized exchange, right? So if the price is changing outside, it has no relation to that. If there is an arbitrage opportunity and somebody swaps, that's the only time when a price changes. So this does help understand people regarding the model. But when you are modeling, actually, you would just be mostly working on price ranges. Now, one notion a lot of people had was, I will just try to predict the price and then try to form stuff around it. But that's not easy, because we have kept the, in the scoring engine, the price accordingly, so that you're not able to fool the gas prices a lot. For example, if you have $1 million, your fees is going to be huge, right? Your model will not care about the gas fees too much. But if you only have like a $1,000, then this 40, $50 or even $100 gas fees is a huge chunk of it. And the other thing is, one must understand that it's not just about sprites prediction in Uniswap. A lot of the fees that you will earn is derived by the volume that the pool is seeing, and the kind of price fluctuations as well that the pool is seeing itself. And then the how we score now is, if you have, suppose, Bollinger, and you say, I want to create a position from this time to this time, and I see my price has gone out of range, I want to rebalance, and you do that over a time period, and then we give you out the APR metric. And if you have read the coding notebook and guidelines, we actually, as Credmark, has now standardized everything in terms of low, medium, and higher risk. Now, this actually, usually you see that in traditional finances, but this actually allows for people to be able to make choices based on that, and also for model developers to see that their model is able to handle low, high, and medium risk appetites as well, uh, which allows you to invest accordingly based on a profit versus a risk ratio. So quite simple, I would say, once you have done it. But I think it's a little complex to do for the first time. My suggestion to any of the developers listening is, go through the sample notebook first. We have mentioned as much comments as there as well, and we're always open in the channel itself to ask. I know it's a little complex problem, I think, for the beginners, but if you get hold of this, then it's a great achievement to be able to do this and actually understand such a mathematically a difficult concept. And as a metric, we are giving the APR, and based on almost like what's the profit that you will be making in an annualized manner. I think, and then we're using a mixture of formulas to, get the score for low, medium, and high together and punch them in. So I think that's it. I would say, but it's quite a good experience for us to design such things as well, and also from running such competitions slowly, we'll be building the community as well, and also learning what else we can offer. Maybe first we can offer more education and prerequisite videos for the people as well, because I think this definitely shows there is a huge dire need, because I've seen a lot of other competitions as well, and they're a little underwhelmed with the developers because of the problem complexity. And this definitely shows in the direction we are taking as well now as a community, that that there is a need to build a huge developer community around such ecosystems if the protocols have to thrive, because we are adding a lot of protocols each day, but there is a huge developer in risk assessment and recommendations as well. And I think this is where this will be crucial. So I would say go for the competition. We've extended by a week, and we'll be and hands down promoting it a lot this week, and try to get in more submissions and then take on the questions from there as well. So if you have any feedback, any questions, in case you have not tried it, please go and check out the competition at app.credmark.com. There's a hackathon tab that you just have to go to. And we have tried our best already to give you a lot of stuff regarding the sample notebooks. So definitely try to make a submission first. In case you face any query there, please let us know. Because even if you don't win, I would say it would be a very good learning experience for you. And it will give you a huge good direction. And also that's the reaping reward from our hard work actually, so that the community can understand and participate in such things, so that they are the ones who drive this such products, because this will be quite useful for the end consumer. So in case now anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to take. And otherwise, Momin, if you want to ask something, that will be good as well for me to respond.
We have someone who wants to ask a question.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. How's it going?
Good. Yeah, it sounds like a really good goal to get more people to understand how these things work. So how is this being evaluated? I was just flipping through the website for the hackathon, and I believe it says maximum return, but then you're also classifying it into 3 risk categories, right? So is it just the highest return of the riskiest category that you score?
We actually take the average currently, but what we do individually is right now in the leaderboard, that's how it shows. But when we'll be running the future models, that's something we'll be looking into individually as well. Because sometimes what might happen, because not everybody wants to go for all 3 of the assessments. We'll be looking at individual scores as well when we do the final scoring. But on the leaderboard currently, as it shows, it's mostly just the average of low, high, and medium risk category. In case somebody just wants one and they don't want to invest in all 3, they can just replicate the numbers for low, medium, and high to be if they want to avoid that hassle.
Then am I misunderstanding how that classification works? Because what's to stop somebody from just submitting their highest return estimate for all 3 if return is the only metric?
How that will be doing is because we'll be checking the code as well, right? That's why, although it's initial leaderboard is just a sample of how it is happening, and the other point is how it will perform. Because usually, if you already know what's the highest return, right, you can try to do that. But there is no strategy fix that will work on each data. If you have it, we are very happy if you just submit the highest return every time. In those terms, because usually low, medium, and high is not something that you can just decide by a pure range. As I said, it depends on how much liquidity people are providing within those ticks as well. For example, if I give you some exception scenarios which I actually saw in Uniswap, suppose you invested in tick 9 to 11 and it is giving great return for one pool for which you designed the model, right? But now when your model is evaluated on future data, you don't know the result already, right? Your model is fixed, your strategy and code is fixed already, so you just cannot check how it is coming out as well. And that's why I said when we go for the future data, we'll actually look at individual returns as well, and it will not necessarily just be average there. But as I gave you the example, for example, now take 11 to 12 may be a huge, like nobody has invested in that. And if your strategy actually invests a lot of money in there, then you can make more money than investing in a big range. So we have actually taken that into account, that somebody is just trying to rig it and give the highest return. So we'll actually look into individual risk assessments as well, that if it's just taking the highest one as well. So not That's why I said initial leaderboard average is the metric to just display, but the final result will actually be dependent on a lot of other parameters as well.
Okay, that makes sense. So you guys are looking at it. I have one other question about how you're actually kind of running the test. So you said you're going to run it on a different pool that we don't know about, so you can't backfit. But how complicated can you make the strategy? Because you need to be able to run the code and replicate the outputs. So if it's using something like a library that's maybe hard to configure, there's a risk that you guys won't be able to run the code successfully. Is there like, what do you picture with that? Is it
Should we
like don't use any external libraries?
Um, I don't see that as too much of a problem actually, because I come from an edge device background, so we are quite used to running stuff on Nano and Raspberry Pis and those things as well with libraries. We have not faced an issue yet. The only thing we would require from people is just to mention their libraries properly, as we've done that. So as long as they do that, and suppose if somebody is running on a Mac particularly and that runs there, we are very happy to run that there as well, because our parameter of judgment is not just the library; it's more of the algorithm. In case we run into a huge trouble, we'll definitely reach out to the guy itself. If there is a way to step, because they have given their usernames mostly, and then we'll definitely reach out to them. And then even if we have to delay the result by 1 or 2 days, we'll definitely reach out to them that this is something that is causing configuration, because we don't really are not going to be like leaving someone out if somebody has done the mathematical part right. Usually, I don't think there are too many complex libraries yet people are going to be using. Mostly are standard with packages that I have seen yet. But in case somebody goes for some kind of a custom stuff, we are very happy for do it as long as it has the right mathematical setup, right?
Okay, sounds good. So you're quite open to accepting different approaches. I think that's all the questions
Yes.
I have.
Okay. All the best for the competition submission as well, because I've seen mostly two. And I think in case you run any questions, I'm quite open. I've received a lot of DMs. I'm trying to reach out to the developers. Those are the ones that requested, we can do an AMA, and I'm trying to figure out some more calls with them as well. So in case you have any other questions, any trouble, because we're quite friendly with the community. Actually, we're very happy for the community to try things, and that's the whole purpose of organizing this competition, because we can make much better models right now at this stage, but our goal is to educate the community alongside us as well. So slowly, after a while, they're the ones who are building good models and actual learning, and can be rewarded as well. So we're quite open to things, and not skeptical about nitty bitty things as well.
Sweet. Thanks, Zero Expert, for that. I think that was a very useful and productive question. If there is no other questions, I think we can end it. We're gonna post this AMA on YouTube. We're still trying to figure out the best way to I guess get these recordings up and where the best place to put them is. But for now, we're putting them on YouTube, so I'll let folks know when that's ready to listen to or listen back to. Other than that, you can always ask questions either in the CMK Uniswap V3 competition channel itself in general, or you can DM any of us. Feel free, don't be shy. But that's it. We can wrap things up. Thanks everybody for attending. Thanks for the questions. It's really, really appreciated. And hopefully we can see some uptick in some submissions for this competition. And as we approach our MVP for our platform, I mean, the MVP for our platform and this competition that we're running right now are going to integrate eventually. So both are extremely important, and it's important that we work out the kinks and make sure people understand how this stuff works, so that when we get to our platform, it runs smoothly. So all that to say is your feedback is appreciated, and we appreciate your support. That's it from me. Nish, do you have anything else?
I think that's it from my side as well. Although I'll be trying to be active in Discord mostly this week, I'll try to hang out in the voice channels as well and keep doing stuff. And let's see how the competition goes and stuff, because I've seen 2-3 more promising people trying to reach out. I'm just hoping that they submit this week so that